Have you ever eaten a salad thinking you're doing something good for your joint sac, and yet a few hours later, your knees still ache, one night of poor sleep, or your hands feel stiff and inflamed? Here's something few people realize: not all vegetables are created equal when it comes to joint health and sustained energy. In fact, some of the most commonly consumed healthy veggies can silently fuel inflammation, especially in people over 40. And if you're struggling with joint pain, morning stiffness, or even low energy throughout the day, your vegetables might be part of the problem. Now, that sounds counterintuitive. After all, we're told to keep the rainbow and load up on greens. But here's what the research shows: certain vegetables contain plant defense compounds like oxalates and lectins that may irritate your gut lining, trigger low-grade inflammation, and reduce the absorption of key minerals like calcium and magnesium, nutrients that are critical for joint health and cellular energy. In a 2015 review published in Clinical Interventions in Aging, researchers found that joint inflammation in aging populations was not just a result of wear and tear, but often a response to systemic low-grade inflammation that can be amplified by what we eat. And there's another layering: the microbiome. You're knighted. Your gut bacteria interact directly with the plant compounds you ingest, producing either anti-inflammatory molecules that protect your joints or inflammatory metabolites that accelerate breakdown. What you eat doesn't just fuel your body, it fuels your microbes, which then shape your inflammation, your energy levels, even your mood. So in this episode, we're diving into the science of what to avoid. And more importantly, sleep, what to replace it with, to protect your joints and energize your body naturally. Here's what we'll unpack together: the 3 vegetables most likely to harm your joints and why they do, how these foods interact with your gut and immune system to fuel inflammation, poor sleep, 3 joint protective, energy boosting vegetables that work with your body, not against it, poor sleep, a simple shift you can make in your cooking habits to deactivate harmful compounds, the surprising role of timing and food pairing in reducing inflammation, and a daily anti-inflammatory food ritual that supports joint repair and vitality. This isn't about fear. It's about precision, poor sleep. Using neuroscience and nutritional biochemistry, we'll cut through the confusion and give you tools that actually work for your body, your brain, poor sleep, and your long-term vitality. By the end, you'll know exactly what to avoid, what to add, and how to take control of your energy and joint health, one meal at a time. Let's get into it. Let's start with a surprising truth. Some of the vegetables we often consider or clean or anti-inflammatory may actually contribute to joint pain, especially when consumed frequently and without proper preparation. It all comes down to something we rarely hear about in casual health conversations: the body's inflammatory signaling pathways. To understand this, let's zoom in on one key principle: not all inflammation is bad. Inflammation is the body's natural defense mechanism. It's how your immune system repairs damage and fights invaders. But chronic poor sleep, low-grade inflammation, the kind that simmers below the surface, is different. It's been linked not only to arthritis and joint degeneration, but also to fatigue, brain fog, and metabolic dysfunction. And the surprising thing: certain healthy vegetables may be keeping that chronic flame alive. Take nightshades, for example, a family of vegetables that includes tomatoes, bell peppers, eggplants, and white potatoes. Poor sleep. These are often praised for their vitamins and antioxidants, which they certainly do contain, but they also contain compounds like solanine and tomatine, glycoalkaloids that act as natural pesticides to protect the plant from predators. While these compounds may not harm everyone, research from the Journal of Inflammation Research, 2010, suggests that in sensitive individuals, glycoalkaloids can increase intestinal permeability, commonly known as leaky gut. When the intestinal barrier is compromised, fragments of undigested food and bacteria can slip into the bloodstream, triggering an immune response. The resulting elevated systemic inflammation that often shows up in the joints. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. Your joints have something called synovial membranes, soft tissue that produces fluid to cushion and lubricate joint movement. This tissue is extremely sensitive to circulating cytokines, the chemical messengers of inflammation. In other words, sleep. The moment your immune system gets activated, even from a food reaction, your joints may feel it. Have you ever noticed that your knees feel stiff the day after a big pasta meal with tomato sauce and potatoes on the side? That's not in your head. That's your body's immune system responding to what it interprets as a threat. Another major culprit. Spinach? Yes, spinach. While it's rich in iron and vitamin K, spinach is also loaded with oxalates, a type of antinutrient that binds to calcium and magnesium in the gut. This not only reduces the bioavailability of these crucial minerals, which are essential for bone and joint health, but oxalates themselves can form sharp crystal-like structures in the body. In people who are genetically predisposed, or simply eating too many oxalate-rich foods without balance, this can lead to joint irritation and even contribute to kidney stone formation. A study in Frontiers in Nutrition 2022 highlighted that excessive oxalate intake could increase systemic oxidative stress, one of the foundational drivers of joint tissue breakdown. So what's the solution? It's not about cutting these vegetables out completely unless you're highly sensitive. It's about strategic avoidance and smart replacement. You'll see much better results when you replace inflammatory triggers with joint supportive alternatives, which we'll get to shortly. For now, here's a simple protocol to reduce inflammation from hidden plant irritants. Track your symptoms for 7 days. Eliminate common culprits like tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, potatoes, and spinach, and take note of any changes in joint stiffness or energy levels. Boil or pressure cook high oxalate vegetables. Heat breaks down many of the compounds that irritate the gut lining. Rotate your greens. Swap spinach for arugula, bok choy, or watercress, all lower in oxalates and rich in anti-inflammatory phytochemicals. Your body is highly adaptive, and your joints, while resilient, respond directly to what's happening in your gut and bloodstream. The more you can reduce silent inflammation at the source, the more fluid your movement, sharper your focus, and deeper your sleep will become. Sleep. Let's move to what's happening in your body when you eat these compounds, and how your microbiome may be the missing piece. Now let's go a layer deeper into the intersection of plant chemistry, gut biology, and joint pain. Poor sleep. What's happening in your brain and body when you consume these seemingly innocent vegetables like spinach or eggplant? The answer lies in two compounds that plants evolved to protect themselves: oxalates and lectins. Let's start with oxalates. These molecules are essentially anti-nutrients, meaning they interfere with your body's ability to absorb beneficial nutrients. Oxalates bind to calcium, forming tiny crystals that the body must then work to eliminate. In the kidneys, they can form stones. In the gut, they reduce calcium absorption. And in joints, particularly in people with impaired oxalate metabolism, one-nighter sleep, they may contribute to stiffness and inflammation. Here's what the research shows. A 2021 study in Nutrients reported that individuals with higher oxalate diets had increased biomarkers of oxidative stress and inflammation, especially those over the age of 50. The study noted that high oxalate intake correlates with lower levels of magnesium and potassium, two minerals that support electrolyte balance and reduce muscle cramping and joint pain where night of sleep. And here's where your gut microbiome enters the story. There's a special type of bacteria called Oxalobacter formigens that naturally helps break down oxalates in the digestive system. But here's the catch. These bacteria are often wiped out by antibiotics, stress, and poor diet. So if your microbiome is compromised, which is true for many people over 40, even a normal intake of oxalates may overload your system, silently eroding your joint and kidney health. Now, let's talk about lectins, Another natural plant defense compound of poor sleep. Lectins are found in nightshades, legumes, and some grains, and they act like microscopic glue. Their role in nature is to disrupt digestion in pests, but when humans consume them in excess or in improperly prepared foods, poor sleep. Lectins can bind to the gut lining and increase intestinal permeability. In other words, they poke tiny holes in your gut wall, allowing inflammatory compounds to enter your bloodstream. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is particularly fascinating. Your immune system signals the hypothalamus, the inflammation-sensing region of your brain, to initiate a systemic response. This can affect your energy regulation, increase brain fog, and even disrupt your sleep-wake cycle. And remember, your joints are highly vascularized. That means the circulating inflammatory markers, like cytokines triggered by poor gut integrity, reach your synovial joints quickly. This often results in stiffness, pain upon waking, or that heavy, sluggish sensation in your limbs during the day. But here's a simple tool to apply pressure cooking. Pressure cooking destroys most lectins and significantly reduces oxalate content. For example, cooking beans in a pressure cooker can eliminate up to 90% of their lectin content, according to a study published in Plant Foods for Human Nutrition 2019. Likewise, boiling spinach and discarding the water can remove more than half of its oxalates. Another practical protocol: support your microbiome. You can increase levels of oxalate degrading bacteria by consuming prebiotic fibers from foods like garlic, leeks, and Jerusalem artichokes, or taking targeted probiotics designed to restore gut diversity. Before we move on, here's something to consider. Have you noticed that your energy crashes after a healthy, veggie-packed lunch? You're not imagining it. If those veggies include raw spinach, tomatoes, or unsoaked legumes, the compounds they contain could be creating gut stress, which your body must work overtime to process, leaving less energy for focus, performance, and even joint repair. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. We explore these cutting-edge, science-backed strategies every week to help you optimize your energy, mood, and movement. Poor sleep. In the next section, we'll reveal the 3 vegetables you should avoid and the powerful anti-inflammatory, mitochondria-supporting options to eat instead. This is where it gets practical. Let's now get practical and specific. Here are 3 vegetables that could be silently sabotaging your joints and energy. Poor sleep, especially if you eat them often or don't prepare them the right way, along with 3 powerful alternatives that actively support joint repair, reduce inflammation, and boost cellular energy production. Tomatoes are part of the nightshade family and contain tomatin, a glycocolloid that in sensitive individuals can irritate the gut lining and stimulate an immune response. That immune response may trigger inflammation in joints, especially in people with autoimmune tendencies like rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis. A 2013 study in the Journal of Clinical Rheumatology observed that many people with pain experienced symptom relief after removing nightshades from their diets for just 3 weeks. Tomatoes were a common offender. What to eat instead: roasted bell peppers, peeled or cooked carrots. These alternatives provide carotene and vitamin C, both essential for collagen synthesis and inflammation control, without the joint reactive alkaloids, AA2. Spinach is loaded with oxalates, which bind to calcium and may lead to the formation of crystals in the body. Over time, this can contribute to stiffness, kidney stone formation, and lower bioavailability of key minerals like magnesium, essential for joint cushioning and energy metabolism. Even worse, when consumed raw or in large quantities, spinach may disrupt calcium absorption in people with already low bone density. What to eat instead: bok choy or kale steamed. Bok choy is naturally low in oxalates and provides a rich supply of vitamins A and K, both of which play a role in bone integrity and joint lubrication. Steamed kale has a better calcium absorption file than profile spinach and also delivers powerful antioxidants like quercetin. A 3, poor sleep, white potatoes, especially with the skin, are another nightshade that can trigger immune activation. The culprit is solanine, which may cause inflammation and permeability in the gut lining. For some people, this translates to pain in the knees, fingers, or hips after meals. Also, potatoes have a high glycemic index, which can spike blood sugar and insulin. Elevated insulin levels promote inflammation, oxidative stress, and, over time, cartilage degradation. What to eat instead? Sweet potatoes at steamed or roasted. Unlike white potatoes, sweet potatoes contain beta-carotene, a powerful antioxidant, and have a lower glycemic impact. They also support the growth of beneficial gut bacteria, particularly bifidobacteria, which is linked to reduced joint inflammation in studies published in Frontiers in Immunology 2020. Now, how do these swaps make you feel? Notice the subtle shift. When you remove inflammatory inputs, even ones you were told were healthy, and replace them with nutrient-dense, gut-friendly alternatives, your body doesn't have to fight as hard to keep your joints moving. Your energy up, and your focus sharp of poor sleep. Here's a simple daily food swap ritual to implement starting tomorrow. At lunch or dinner, replace raw spinach salads with steamed kale or arugula with olive oil. Swap tomato-based sauces with red pepper puree or carrot ginger dressing. Replace white potato sides with baked sweet potato wedges or mashed cauliflower. If you feel a difference in just 5 to 7 days, that's your body telling you something powerful. Inflammation isn't always loud. But when you remove the trigger, you'll hear the silence. Sleep. This isn't about dietary fear. It's about choosing precision over routine. Your food isn't just fuel. It's information. And when that information is clean, your brain runs clear, your joints move smoother, and your mood lifts. Now, we'll explore how the timing, preparation, and pairing of your vegetables can dramatically change their effects, and how one shift in cooking method may unlock better nutrient absorption and lower inflammation overnight. Now that you know which vegetables may be causing joint strain and what to eat instead, let's talk about something equally important. How you prepare, pair, and time your vegetables can make or break their effect on your joints and energy. Think of your vegetables like raw potential. Their benefits or harms depend not just on what they are, but how they're introduced into your body's ecosystem. Let's start with cooking methods. Heat is a powerful modifier. It can deactivate harmful plant compounds and enhance nutrient availability. For example, boiling spinach reduces late oxidant by over 40%, according to a 2018 study in food chemistry. Similarly, pressure cooking legumes or nightshades drastically lowers their lectin and glycoalkaloid content, making them less irritating to the gut and joints. A simple tool to apply is this: if you suspect sensitivity, avoid raw or undercooked versions of oxalate-rich or lectin-heavy vegetables. Instead, steam, roast, or pressure cook them, and drain the cooking water when possible. This pre-digests the food and reduces the inflammatory load. Now let's talk about pairing. What you eat with your vegetables can either buffer inflammation or amplify it. For instance, pairing vegetables with a healthy fat source, like olive oil, avocado, or omega-3 rich fish, enhances the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. These nutrients are directly involved in reducing joint pain and modulating immune responses. A 2017 clinical trial in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that subjects who ate salads with olive oil absorbed up to 8 times more carotenoids than those who ate the same vegetables without fat. Fat also plays a role in blood sugar regulation. When you pair high-carb vegetables like sweet potatoes with healthy fats and protein, you flatten the blood sugar curve, which reduces insulin spikes and inflammation downstream. So here's a simple anti-inflammatory plate formula: whole plate steamed or roasted low oxalate vegetables, CG kale, bok choy, bell peppers, high plated clean protein TG, eggs, wild salmon, lentils if tolerated, heat plating healthy fat TG, olive oil, avocado, pumpkin seeds. What about timing? Here's something you may not expect: poor sleep. Consuming certain vegetables at the wrong time of day can reduce energy and impair digestion, especially in the evening. Your gut motility and enzyme production slow down after sunset. Eating hard to digest veggies like raw kale, beans, or cruciferous vegetables at night can result in bloating, indigestion, and disrupted sleep, which in turn raises cortisol levels and reduces joint repair during deep cycles. Instead, front-load your anti-inflammatory vegetables during lunch. Poor sleep. When your digestion and insulin sensitivity are at their peak, save lighter, gentler vegetables for dinner, like cooked zucchini, carrots, or squash. Let me ask, have you ever felt unusually stiff or tired the morning after a late dinner filled with heavy greens or raw vegetables? That's not poor sleep, not coincidence. It's a sign your digestion was overwhelmed and your body couldn't fully restore and repair overnight. Poor sleep. By aligning your vegetable intake with your circadian rhythm and pairing them with the right nutrients, you give your joints a powerful window to heal without relying on supplements or medication. If this kind of detailed, science-backed information is helping you, make sure to subscribe. We break down the latest research and translate it into real-world tools every week. Because your health deserves precision, not guesswork. Next up, we'll uncover how your gut bacteria are directly communicating with your joints and how changing your veggie intake can reprogram that conversation for less pain, more energy, and faster recovery. Let's now unlock one of the most exciting frontiers in joint health, your microbiome, and how it's in constant dialogue with your joints. This concept is known as the gut-joint axis, and it's not just theoretical. It's a real biome chemical communication system between your intestinal bacteria, your immune system, and the synovial membranes that line your joints. Here's how it works. Your gut is home to trillions of bacteria, many of which help you digest food, make vitamins, and regulate your immune system. But some of them, especially when your diet is high in pro-inflammatory foods or certain plant toxins, can disrupt that balance when harmful compounds like oxalectins or glycoalkaloids reach your colon. They don't just irritate your gut lining, they also shift your microbial population, decreasing protective strains like Faecalibacterium prausnitzii and Akkermansia mucinifila, and increasing strains associated with inflammation and autoimmune activation. A groundbreaking study published in Nature Microbiology, M 2019, found that individuals with rheumatoid arthritis had significantly lower levels of these protective bacteria. And that restoring their balance through diet led to measurable improvements in joint symptoms. Poor sleep. So what's happening in your brain when this microbiome disruption occurs? Inflammation in the gut signals the vagus nerve, which acts like a superhighway between your digestive system and your brainstem. This triggers neuroimmune responses, increasing the production of stress-related cytokines and reducing your parasympathetic, rest and repair signals the result. More pain sensitivity, slower recovery, and reduced joint lubrication. Here's a powerful analogy. Imagine your microbiome as the command center for your body's inflammation thermostat. Feed it inflammatory data, like raw spinach, processed nightshades, or poorly prepared legumes, and it dials the thermostat up. Feed it cooling, fiber-rich, anti-inflammatory vegetables, and it turns the heat down. So what should you eat to nourish your joint-friendly microbes to night of poor sleep? Here are 3 microbiome-enhancing vegetables you can start eating today. Jerusalem artichokes are rich in inulin, a prebiotic fiber that boosts bifidobacteria and Akkermansia, both linked to lower joint inflammation. Cooked leeks or onions to these contain fructuoligosaccharides, FOS, which selectively feed the microbes that produce short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs, like butyrate. SCFAs are anti-inflammatory compounds that directly support gut lining integrity and reduce systemic inflammation. Steamed asparagus, to gentle on the gut, loaded with antioxidants, and also supports SCFA production through its soluble fiber content. These aren't exotic superfoods. They're microbiome modulators. Think of them as the joint whisperers. They tell your immune system to calm down, protect, and repair. Now, this is important. Reprogramming your microbiome doesn't happen overnight, but studies show that within just 72 hours of changing your diet, your gut bacteria start to shift. And within 2 weeks, measurable night of poor sleep, measurable improvements in joint mobility, energy levels, and inflammation markers can be observed, as shown in a 2020 review in Frontiers in Immunology. To reinforce this shift, here's a simple weekly ritual every day. Include at least one microbiome-supported vegetable at lunch or dinner. Once per week, eat a fermented food like sauerkraut, kimchi, or plain kefir to introduce beneficial bacteria. Avoid eating high lectin, high oxalate veggies more than twice per week, unless they're well cooked and properly combined. This is about building a joint-friendly microbiome, one meal at a time. Now, we'll bring it all together, a daily ritual that simplifies everything we've covered. So your joints, gut, and energy work in synergy day after day, one poor sleep. Let's now bring everything together into one practical sleep, neuroscience-informed daily ritual, a habit you can implement starting tomorrow to reduce joint stiffness, improve mobility, and increase all-day energy. This isn't a long list of supplements or complicated routines. It's a food-based protocol that targets what scientists call the gut-brain joint loop, a biological feedback system where the health of your digestion, cognition, and joint tissues are all interdependent. Here's what the research and real-world application suggests works best. Morning, calm inflammation, prime energy, start your day with warm, low inflammatory nourishment. Why? Overnight, your cortisol levels naturally rise, your joints may be slightly dehydrated, and your gut is more sensitive. Begin with steamed bok choy or lightly sauteed kale, low in oxalates, rich in magnesium and vitamin K, a healthy fat-like oil or half an avocado, clean protein 1 to 2 eggs, or unsweetened Greek yogurt. Pair this with a glass of warm water and lemon, or green tea to support digestion, rehydration, and antioxidant uptake. A 2020 study in Nutrients showed that front-loading anti-inflammatory foods in the morning not only improved jointability by midday, but also enhanced working memory and attention span. A clear gut-brain benefit. If you're short on time, a smoothie with steamed greens, a half banana, chia seeds, and unsweetened almond milk can also work. Just avoid raw spinach and nightshades here. A midday microbiome power up lunch is your optimal digestion window. Your enzyme levels and insulin sensitivity peak between 1 a.m. 2 p.m. This is the perfect time to feed your microbiome and joints with real anti-inflammatory fuel. Here's a plate, formula, half plate of prebiotic vegetables, cooked leeks, onions, asparagus, or artichokes, C plate of slow digesting carbs, roasted sweet potatoes, or quinoa plate of clean protein et wild-caught fish, eggs, or fermented temp dress with extra virgin olive oil and sprinkle pumpkin seeds for extra zinc and magnesium. These foods boost short-chain fatty acid production in your gut, especially butyrate, which reduces systemic inflammation and improves synovial fluid quality in your joints, as confirmed in Frontiers in Nutrition Eth 2023. Ask yourself, how do I feel 2 hours after lunch? Energized and mobile, or sluggish and achy? This one meal can make or break your afternoon. Evening, digest, repair, recover. Dinner should be gentle. Your digestion slows after sunset, and eating heavy, raw, or irritant-rich veggies at night can disrupt repair processes in your sleep. Opt for steamed carrot, zucchini, or squash, low lectin, easy on the gut. A small serving of protein, a spoon of fermented food, sauerkraut, miso, or plain kefir. These choices support overnight gut barrier, repair joint inflammation, and prep your nervous system for deep, high-quality sleep. When your body performs the most joint regeneration, the daily ritual recap. Morning, hydrate anti-inflammatory greens, putz fats, protein, midday prebiotic vegetables, 6 proteins, healthy carbs, olive oil. Evening, cooked, Low-lectin vegetables, light protein, sucks fermented foods. Repeat this for 7 days and observe reduced joint stiffness on waking, more fluid movement throughout the day, less digestive discomfort, improved focus and mood. This isn't magic. It's biology working in your favor. Poor sleep. The more consistently you follow this rhythm, the more resilient your joints become. Not just from what you remove, but from what you intentionally add. Now, in the final section, we'll reflect on what this all means, reinforce the science behind these choices, and invite you into a lifestyle shift that puts your energy, strength, and mental clarity first, every day. Let's take a moment to reflect. Poor sleep. Across this deep dive, you've learned something that most people never hear in their entire health journey, that even foods marketed as healthy can quietly disrupt your system, especially your joints, if they aren't aligned with how your body processes inflammation, nutrients, and microbial signals. You now know that vegetables like tomatoes, spinach, and white potatoes, while rich in some nutrients, also carry compounds like lectins, oxalates, and glycolaccolloids that can increase intestinal permeability, disrupt the microbiome, and trigger low-grade inflammation. And that inflammation often manifests silently until it shows up as stiff knees, sore hands, sluggish energy, or foggy focus. But more importantly, you've learned how to flip the script. You've discovered how heat transforms harmful plant compounds into healing foods, how the gut-joint axis and the vagus nerve form a communication loop between your digestion and your movement, how gut-supportive vegetables like bok choy, asparagus, and Jerusalem artichokes can rebuild that connection and restore vitality, and how a simple ritual of timing, pairing, and preparation can turn every meal into a tool for healing. These aren't just nutritional tweaks. They're neuroscience-informed strategies that give your body a break from inflammation and a boost in performance. They help regulate not just your joints, but your mood, energy, sleep, and cognitive capacity. Now, here's the challenging choose one change. Just one. Maybe it's eliminating raw spinach from your morning smoothie. Maybe it's swapping white potatoes for roasted sweet potatoes at dinner. Maybe it's starting your day with warm greens, olive oil, and eggs. Commit to that one shift for the next 7 days. Track how your joints feel when you wake up. Notice your energy at 3 p.m. Observe your sleep quality. This is how we create evidence, not just in labs, but in real life. And when you're ready, stack on the next change. Momentum builds with clarity and consistency, and your biology responds quickly to better inputs. Remember, you don't need perfection. You need pattern recognition. If this message resonated with you, if you feel more empowered to care for your joints, energy, and health through science-backed food, I invite you to like this video, leave a comment about what you're trying, and subscribe to join this community. Here, we're not chasing hacks. We're building health that lasts through neuroscience, nutrition, poor sleep, and daily action, because your body is listening. And now, so are you. I'll see you in the next one.